Salutations and shit, motherfuckers. Welcome to another episode of Travel and Shit, your new favorite travel podcast, where I have more of a discussion about what was experienced through travel versus the where I went and how I did it. So I'm your host, D. Carey, and I just realized I don't have any jewelry on. I don't have a necklace on. This is bare. So welcome and shit. Updates for this week are the same as last week. Be sure to head over to WOC. That's WOC, Walter, Oliver, Charlie, if you will. Women of Color, podcasters.co, and check out myself, as well as 9 other women of color who have been featured as travel podcasters to, I guess, listen to, subscribe to, and get really great information from. So shout out to Danielle for that. Thank you, sis. Much appreciated. And again, I am verbally holding you, Kelly, and Adrena to our hiking come good weather. I'd say Mayish or so. Also, don't forget to pick up your copy of Boom Goes the Dynamite. Here it is. Keep calm and bring your carry-on, as mentioned last week. I, along with, I want to say it's 50 total, I think. But there's like 50 other beautiful Black and brown people, travelers of color who have been, y'all, I can't even get 50 people for a birthday party. And that's, no work for anybody. Show up, drink, shake your ass. And this young lady got 50 travel influencers from across the globe to speak on their experiences with travel as well as mental health in communities of color. And be sure to purchase your copy. It is available digitally, black and white, and in color. And this week's guest is the author and the diligent worker that put all the work and efforts into having this come together. Okay, so how do I pronounce your name? Because I tried to say it last week. Is it Gentamu? Gentamu?
But it's a little bit more smoother. It's
Oh, of course.
Gentamu.
Gentamu. Okay, well, my
Yeah,
apologies. Or
no
Jen
problem.
Jen.
I go by Jen or Jen for short. I established that probably like in elementary school. Like, just call me Jen because it's just torture.
But it's
But
not a
no,
hard name to say. Gentamu is very
it's
easy.
really not. I guess once I say it, people be like, "Oh, it's like
Right.
People see it, they want to put like really like emphasis. Gentile. It was like, no, it's just,
Yeah, you don't know where to put it, which is
they're like, on it, you just be just smooth with it, just like that.
that's why I never take it personal when people call me Dana, because I'm like, in most other languages, I guess the emphasis is put on a different syllable, or of course your vowels are pronounced differently. So it's just like, yeah, Dana. And if they just keep going, it's just like, okay, I know you're talking to me because I'm right here in front of you, so it's no personal. So welcome, Jen. Thank you for being on this episode of Travel and Shit. And I am a believer in letting people introduce themselves because nobody's going to introduce you better than you will. So please introduce yourself to the people.
Hi, my name is Gentamu Jen or Jenny McKinney, and I am from California, and I'm an author, director, travel influencer, part-time model, and I'm also the founder of Awareness at the Dark, and I'm a mental health advocate.
So, in the beginning of your book, you started with telling us about, I guess, an experience that you had with your mom. So, what happened?
So about 4 years ago, was it 4 or 3? Yeah, about 4 years ago. Yeah, I think about four. So about 4 years ago, I was actually a deputy health officer at the time. That's pretty much a health officer with the badge. I'm kind
What
of
does
glad I'm
that
not.
mean? Like, what would you do?
Pretty much all those certain viruses or infectious diseases have to be reported to the LA County and the CDC, and they have people like public health investigators and deputy health officers who have to track those diseases, pretty much prevent what's going on right now with the coronavirus. And I was one of those people. And so at that time, I used to wear a lab coat sometimes not, but I had a badge and stuff. So a lot of people knew what I did. And then I remember one time, so my mother is actually an alcoholic and drug addict, ex-alcoholic and drug addict. So for a long time, you know, when people get sober, we kind of just let them do what they do. You know, you're just happy that they're sober. And my grandmother, my mother have like kind of like a little weird love-hate relationship. So my grandmother can't talk much, but because of her stroke, like she kept telling me, you know, to call my mom, call my mom. And I was like, no, she just don't want to be bothered. Like, you know, she kept saying, I guess she just had a feeling something was wrong. And so I tried to call my mom. I guess the first day I was just like, no, she doesn't want to be bothered. She want her little moves. Just like her alone. So then the next day she called me again. Like, I call your mom, something's wrong. I was like, all right. So I went by. I noticed when I called her, the cell phone was disconnected. So I was like, okay, well, maybe she needs money to pay her cell phone bill. You know, that's what kids do now. We roles change. So I went over there, and she didn't usually hug me and kiss me, which I kind of hated because she smokes cigarettes and wears that lipstick that I just hate. I used to hate the smell of cigarettes and coffee. If you ever around a smoker or a person that drinks coffee all the time, that scent just hits you, and I can't stand red lipstick on my face. And so she didn't hug and kiss me this time. It's like, okay, she was like she had like several different, I guess you say, personalities at the time when I answered the door. And she knows where I work, so I had a lab coat at the time, and she was just acting very strange. Like she didn't want me to touch her. She was crying. I saw that the room was dark, and it was kind of like hoarding in a sense. It looked like she hadn't changed clothes in like a week. And then it just got to the point where she just started crying hysterically. I thought maybe, you know, maybe she gotten diagnosed with something serious or whatever the case may be. And then she would get angry, you know, and I just thought maybe she had relapsed. And I told her, you know, if you know you relapse, you know, it's okay, you know, it's nothing, you got this. And she was like, no. She was like, she didn't drink or do anything, doing drugs. She's still sober, that she wouldn't lie to me. But I couldn't figure out what's going on. And then she just started snapping into like a childlike state, then angry, back and forth. Then it got to the point where it started getting scary, because then it's like she wanted to kill herself. And that's when I had to like pop into no longer a daughter mode, but, you know, provider, you know, medical provider, I guess you could say, or medical, you know, professional. But then it kind of scared me, because I was just like, I really didn't know what was going on. But at one point, I just felt like I didn't feel safe, because I saw a whole bunch of knives in the kitchen, and they were out. Like, why are the knives? Why are the knives out? Like, what are you doing? You know, it was just weird. So at one point, I was going to try to wait it out, but she just kept. My mother is actually bigger than me in size. She's a lot more stronger than me. She's not heavy set. She's just stronger. You know, when your mama, black folks, you know, we're taught to respect our mother. You know, they will take your ass out. And I was scared, because I remember one time my mother did try to do that. So I had flashbacks like, yo, she's trying to kill herself. But I got really scared, because I felt like either it's gonna be me or her. You know, and I was just like, I'm afraid that she's gonna try to kill herself, but I don't think I have the strength to stop her.
Right.
Of course I want to stop her, but that's going to be a struggle, like, you know, us fighting over a knife because she's trying to kill herself. So then at that point, I was just like, I immediately called the ambulance. Then I tried to call a family member, my uncle. He didn't believe me. He thought I was tripping. She thought, well, maybe she just relapsed. I'm like, no, it's something totally different. And then I remember her just like being in like an outer body experience. It was at one point she didn't really recognize me. When the ambulance came and they were trying to calm her down, it was like she was acting like a child, and she was like, please don't let them take me away. I'm looking like, mom, they had to take you away. Because I know her blood pressure was high, but she was just out of it. I didn't know. In my mind, I'm thinking like she had to take something, because this is crazy. And so at the end of the day, it was hard for me to let them take her like that, because they were going to like strap her down, because she was acting really frantic. And so I was like, you know, okay, you can take her. I just can't see it. I mean, that's a hard call to make for anybody. Like, you don't want to see your mother being strapped down to a gurney because she's, you know, for behavioral reasons, and she's not really in the correct mental state, and they're gonna pretty much either have to sedate her or just do what they got to do. And being a healthcare professional, I was just like, I know what you guys need to do. I just don't want to see it, you know. So I just of the room and just hearing her crying, "You're gonna let them take me and take
Mm.
me." Then we went to the emergency room, and of course, me having a little privilege, I guess you could say, I flashed my badge and like, "Look, I need you to figure out what the heck is she
Right.
on, everything." And there was pretty much nothing inside her system. She didn't hit her head, she did nothing. She just really had a mental breakdown to the point where she still wanted to kill herself. She was, I don't know. And my mother is actually an alpha female, so it was really hard for me to see her that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much happened. And from there, I think I had to put her in a lockdown facility for like several months, but they still couldn't get the medications right. And then from that point on, she kind of, because she really didn't want to take meds. People who are alcohol or ex-alcoholic drug users, they don't usually try to take anything because they're afraid they're gonna, get back.
Relapse.
Yeah, relapse and get back on that. And so it was hard to try to get her to take some type of medication. But then even for her not being on any type of medications at all, um, it took a long time for them to get the balancing right
Mm-hmm.
for her. And I think that kind of triggered her back into relapsing. And then of course she was out in the streets and doing, whatever.
Oh,
And
wow.
then eventually she came to, but it was a hard roller coaster. But that's my story. I really couldn't reach out to anybody because nobody was talking about it, not in the Black community. But then once people were like, really concerned about what's going on, I told them. And then that's when people are like, "Oh, this is going on in my family. This is going on. Oh, you don't have to worry about it. Don't feel sad." Because it's financially, mentally, and spiritually draining.
Right.
Because it is something that you cannot see. It's something.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a hard undertake for us. And then from there, um, I was all in the HIV realm. I was tired of that, and I think I wanted to do something more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with that, and then that's how I started Awareness After Dark. I People always call me to do like other health events, community events. I call it edutainment,
Mm-hmm.
but I just wanted to do something different. And so what I did, I combined entertainment with education, and I did a documentary on it, and that's how I started my mental health events.
Okay.
Within the recent years, I just felt like I wasn't making a big enough impact. I was doing T-shirts and doing this and doing that. Last year, I was nominated for the 40 under 40, but I just felt like it wasn't.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I just felt like it wasn't enough, and I wanted to hit the world, like not just in California, but make it worldwide. And my whole thing was, well, okay, well, how are you going to do that? Like, I had a concept, like the Humanities in New York, how they got their thing going,
Mm-hmm.
telling different heartfelt stories, but I didn't want it to be too like sobby.
Right.
Like I'm
Right.
not that type. Like I do cry, but I don't want all that crying. I want it to be more fun, like kind of light, but it
Mm-hmm.
also inviting, but also education. And so I originally got the idea. I remember being in a bookstore. I remember I was some stuff that I wanted. I know I wanted travel jokes. I wanted stories. I wanted to be an interview like formation. I wanted to be light and funny. But then the name wasn't coming to me until I actually went to a bookstore and I saw the word "keep calm," and that just rang to me. And then I remember the lady was just like, I hadn't started writing yet, but I was writing on like different scratches of paper, and then the words, carry on came onto mind. So it's keep calm when you carry on, keep calm when you carry on. I just kept
Mm-hmm.
saying that to myself, and I was like, I like it. And then my whole concept, one night I just wrote everything down and came to fruition. I remember the bookstore lady, there was this little journal, like I guess it's by Moleskine or whatever. It's something
Mm-hmm.
that writers write in.
Right.
It was on. I was like, well, what's so fancy about it? Like, because the other ones were like very expensive. It's like, oh, those are for writers. I was like, well, shit, I'm a writer, goddamn it.
Right. Charge me an extra $17. Take my money.
Yeah, and because it was cute, because I needed something pocket sized, because I'm the type of person that writes stuff down
Mm-hmm.
and I can't get it again. And so I need to write it down and put it in there. And so that's how I started getting everything. And then once I came up with everything, I was just like, okay, how I'm gonna.
Same. I always walk around I always have a journal
Yeah,
in my
I
bag. I've got 2 smaller sizes. I've got like a million fucking notebooks.
that's how I got it. So that kind of helped me throughout my journey. And then once I started talking to people like, okay, how I'm gonna get it started. First, there was a legal issue. I had to, get them coins to get them legal dollars out
Mhm.
because I knew what I wanted to do. I knew it would be a hit and it would be fire, but I knew that anybody could take it and run with it if they,
Right.
especially if they're, there's lots of people in the travel community, and depending on your level where you're at, it'd be
Mhm.
easy for selling and stuff like that. But at the same time, I wanted nobody to talk about it till I was ready to talk about it. So getting the legal aspects of it as far as like, okay, non-disclosure, not compete agreement,
Mhm.
the agreement to tell your story, the pictures, can I use your pictures? Can I take your pictures? Mine, all that, and getting that out the way, that took about a good 3 months.
Okay.
3 4 months to get that portion out the way. Like there's different segments of the book, and then from there it came to like, okay, who was going to interview, and now there's different people. I didn't want to just get people who are really well known in the travel community. I want to
Mhm.
get people who are starting up, startup or barely well known or known in different categories or different
Mhm.
around the world because I kind of feel like sometimes we kind of tend to leave people out.
Mm. And you keep hearing
We
the
kind of
same
only focus.
voices.
Yeah, I wanted different voices. I wanted people who they never really heard of or need to be hearing from.
Mhm.
So, and then once I contacted several people, they were like, okay, they were all for it. Wasn't even no push. Some people I contacted before, I think sometimes when something isn't because I was trying to let the whole cat out the bag or be not as, I guess vague as possible. But when some people don't really know what their stuff is being used for, they
Right.
don't really grasp the concept, or maybe they just thought they should get a profit from it. they couldn't understand it. So
Mhm.
that was fine for me.
Mhm.
And some people just couldn't get a hold of because of busy schedules. So I understood that. And then once I did the Audacity Fest, um, I was able to get more people to come on board because I spoke at the Audacity Fest on the mental health panel and the volunteer panel.
Okay.
And I think that's where I actually initially announced it at,
Mhm.
although I really technically wasn't finished because I wanted more people to be a part of it. My my book coach at the time was just like, well, that's fine because you can get more people on board and they can actually see my face. It's really hard. I would say it's not hard. It depends on your I guess your likability and
Right,
the
with your
things that
personal story. A lot of people just
your personal
subscribe to a story.
story and how people see you, how you move on social media. So for me, it wasn't that hard of a deal getting people on board. But I know once people saw me in person at different venues, like such as the Audacity Fest, they were more willing to come on board. Like, oh, okay, this is what you're trying to do. Okay, yeah, it's about
Mhm.
mental health. And then speaking about mental health in the Black community, but through travel, everybody was on board for it because everybody has had, if you just had a slight anxiety going to work, you've had a mental health issue. Like
Right.
anybody, even from like traumas, things that we're going through right now. So it was just like heck yeah, I want to do that. I got a story to tell. Nobody had re- Nobody had really no objections to it.
So to, I guess, roll back, did they ever figure out why your mom had the breakdown? Like what caused it? Was there any explanation given to you?
No, I honestly, looking back and going through family history and how I was raised, 'cause I wasn't raised by my mother the whole time.
Mhm.
My childhood, I was actually raised by my grandmother. And I think my father and my grandmother probably knew. It's just like back in those days,
Mhm.
it just wasn't really explained to everyone pretty much. Nobody really could figure out. Back in those days, if you was an addict, you was just an addict. There was no mental health issue. But now looking back through her struggles and everything, she's always had a mental health issue. I think she just had the drugs and stuff was just a way of coping,
Right.
and her behaviors. It was like, okay, she's always had this. It just finally took its toll and snapped.
Mhm. Is she okay now?
So, but now, yeah, now she's okay. She's I saw her a couple of weeks ago. She came down, her and my sister and my grandmother. But I think that the drugs and alcohol left a little bit of brain damage
Mm-hmm.
the last time, because before she was fine. And so now it's kind of like when I do talk to my mom, is I know that my mom is she's not my mom that I know is not really there.
Gotcha.
It's like I'm the parent and she's the child.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit hard sometimes.
I can imagine so. Is that something that you worry about having personal issues with? Like, do you think that has it ever crossed your mind that it may be hereditary, or is it something that you're hyper aware of
Oh
for
yes.
yourself?
Oh, I'm not afraid of it because I've been in therapy my whole childhood. My grandmother had me in therapy because of her issues.
Mm,
I believe that my grandmother, because I was growing up with her, she let me go through things and learn how to process things. So that was never really an issue for me. Um, but she taught me how to deal with it and got professional help with that, like because I'll be depressed because of my mother and stuff like that. I think as we get older, I know I have developed a little bit of anxiety and depression from certain things, but I don't think it was nothing I can really handle that I can't go to a therapist for. And I've been through therapy myself, even through even on, like, I would say I remember going to trauma therapy a year ago, and there was nothing wrong with me at all, period. I just wanted to I wanted to make sure that when it's time for me to get married and have my kids, that I'm not passing
mm,
anything on in that next relationship or with my kids, because I have been through some traumatic experience. I think everyone has probably had some traumatic experiences. They just don't know how to get certain tools or professional help to actually deal with it. You may be perfectly fine, and it's kind of, I would say, when you're perfectly fine is probably the perfect time to go see the therapist, because that's when you can really start coming that stuff can start coming out, because it's nothing that's really bothering you, but it may come out later. Certain things may trigger you. You don't may not know why it's triggering you. You're like, I don't know why I feel like that, but I'm pissed.
mm-hmm.
I'm feeling type of way. And I feel like, with that said, we need to have those conversations.
So,
But I was
two-part
probably
question.
uh-huh.
Go ahead. Finish what you were saying. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
When I went to see my trauma therapist, I was actually living my best life. I just decided, okay, I think it's time to do that. It's time
Mm-hmm.
to do that. Cause I remember almost dying from inside the Staples Center from almonds. And that was a very traumatic. I had PSTD from that, just because I was afraid to eat food,
Mm-hmm.
afraid to go back to that routine. Everybody has something that triggers them. So no, I think when you're actually have no absolutely nothing wrong with you, that's the time to probably figure out, hey, maybe this issue back in the day, I don't want that coming back up.
Mm-hmm. Work through it
Perfect time to go.
before it becomes a problem. Be
Right.
proactive as opposed to reactive.
Yeah, and that's how I was. Do I think mental health runs in the family? Yes. My grandfather served the Korean War.
Oh, so it's my
Nobody
grandpa.
Yeah, and nobody told me he had issues, I think, until I was taking care of him one time. And in the middle of the night, he started screaming off the top of his lungs. And I was like,
Mm.
what? I'm thinking somebody breaking into the house. I'm all
Mm-hmm.
trying to fumble in the middle of the night. And I go to his room, like, Grandpa. He's like, and he's kind of like mean. He's like, yes. And he's like, what do you want? I'm like, you're calling my name. Like, you
Right.
okay?
It's like, what do you want?
And like, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with you. I'm like, and he's just like with his covers, like scared. I'm looking like,
Mm.
I just had a bad dream. Bullshit.
Right. You're not
Like,
fine.
bullshit, because you got me running through the house thinking somebody, like, I gotta whip somebody's ass in the middle of the dark. Nah, but and then it started happening every night, and I'm
Mm.
looking like, yo, why did somebody in the family
Right.
say this? Like, oh yeah, nightmares and that. You might want to get him some help.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody should be going through that still. I'm looking like, that's
It's
not
a long
okay to be
time.
going through.
Right.
Yeah. And he's saying, help me, somebody help me, come get me, they're after me. Pretty much living like he's back in the Korean War. And I'm looking like, do you know how long ago that it was?
Right. Right.
for him to still be having dreams and nightmares at this age, that is not cool. That's scary.
And
That's
to have raised kids and to have, you know what I mean, lived a full life through all of
mm-hmm,
that. So, two-part question for you.
mm-hmm.
In terms of being a family member or a loved one of someone or someone's people who suffer, because like you mentioned before, a lot of people have family members that are having mental issues. So before we get to the how to combat it in ourselves, like what would you suggest? I don't know, maybe like as an encouraging word or a resource that someone could reach out to or use as the family member of someone that's having a mental issue or a mental I guess reawareness, if you will. Like when you start to
Well,
realize, okay, someone has this may be something that is related to mental health, what would you suggest somebody do? Like how do you broach that topic with someone, like especially it being
I would,
a parent, you know?
I would suggest them first try to go speak to somebody professionally themselves and just see to
Mm-hmm.
make sure um, before they go talking to somebody, because a lot of people, may be in denial
Mm-hmm.
and it may cause friction.
Of course.
But since I work in actually the medical health field, I'm just a mental health advocate. I leave that to the professionals.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have other resources for people inside the book, and there's other organizations that can provide that. And there's also several podcasts that deal with mental health and people of color inside the book. So there's such organizations like NAMI. I know Taraji P. Henson has a organization, but I don't know if they have. I know they have an awareness organization. I'm not sure if they have actually people on the ground to actually help
Mm-hmm.
people. I haven't looked into it yet, but I know NAMI is an organization. They have the Urban NAMI as well. They actually have resources for family members
Okay.
where
And what is the NAM?
I,
NAMI. Okay, so it's like NAMI.com, right? Okay.
yeah, I think it's NAMI, what is it?
That org or .com. I'm certain
Yeah.
they could get to giggle it. Shit. They could Google it.
Yes. Yeah, because in my book I have all the organizations. I mean
Yeah,
the
I'm looking
podcast.
at it in the back.
Yeah, all the several podcasts. They have other resources back there that you can contact them. And there's several conferences too, such as Can We Talk Conference, the Benefit Dinner, the Mental Health Symposium, LA County Department of Mental Health, Biennial African American Mental Health Conference,
Yeah, you've
the
got
Black Mental
documentaries, international hotlines. Here it is, NAMI,
Health.
National
Oh, shoot.
Alliance of Mental Illness. God bless you.
Because actually at my events that I do annually, I actually have those professionals come to my events.
Oh, like different members from the different organizations and stuff. They come to.
Yeah, not just the different organizations. I actually have doctors and social workers who are in the field, licensed clinical social workers come to my events. Um, my event's called Let's Get Mental, and we kind of divided up in several sections. We have a man cave where um, doctors and clinical social workers and other advocates, they have their thing for the men. And then we have a mental health and relationships. Then we have a mental health at work. And what else do we have? Oh yeah, the holistic handling mental health with holistic measures,
And you're
or
based
holistic tools.
in LA, you said, right? Or is it just California in
Yeah,
general?
actually San Francisco, California, but might as well just call it LA. I'm originally
Okay.
from the Bay Area.
Okay.
Bay Area.
I a short stint where I dated a nigga from the Bay. He
Yes.
was he was fun. I love this laid back personality. I'll give him that. And then you've got awareness observances and resources and apps. Yeah, it starts on page 297. Oh, I didn't.
And
Why didn't I know
also the book there is actually the ebook.
that? Right. You can also buy it digitally, guys. You don't have to walk around with.
Yeah, no. Actually, there's actually a mistake, but people don't know it. But the color book is actually supposed to be the 8x11. The black and white book is supposed to be the smaller version, 6x9, and that kind of got mixed up.
Oh, so the
So,
small. Okay.
so some people have the big book for some odd reason who bought the black and white. Yes, because I've been seeing people like, why is it so big? Like,
Right.
and I was just like, I'm like, oh my god. So in 2 weeks, people will be getting the smaller version. So
For the
by
color
that.
ones, because I have to order one in color as well, because
No,
I
the
see
for some
myself in color.
okay, so yes. So oh my god. I want to say was a task. I almost cried and gave up and didn't want to do it anymore. That's how much of a task this was.
Trying to get the ones into color.
Well, no, I would say the book process itself. I think other people who have books that are in the travel community, I think their book was probably a lot more not so complex as mine, so it's probably easier to dish out. Mine, on the hand was not. Number one, because of the collaboration, the interviewing other people and 53 people, and trying to get those interviews in on time, meeting deadlines,
And
and
you're
then come to
self-published?
yes, self-published. Yes, because girlfriend didn't
Congratulations.
have.
That's a feat in and of itself.
Oh my god! But girlfriend didn't have them coins.
I am girlfriend.
That's the
Girlfriend is me. We are one.
thing. They tell me some fees. I was just like, ooh, yeah, no, I don't have that.
So the second half of the question that I was asking before was in terms of people finding mental health resources for themselves. I know the biggest struggle for me has been just finding people to answer you the fuck back. I had the time from hell finding the first therapist I went to, and she was very kind but was not a good therapist because old girl kept falling asleep during our sessions. And yeah, so I had to excuse myself from those. I stopped going to see her. And it's like every time you try to find, because I refuse at this, I don't want to say I refuse, like I'm that close to trying to talk to somebody white, but I would much rather talk to a Black woman. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just either you reach out, you send an email and you don't get a response back, or you can't call, you have to send emails, or you can't, um, I don't get a response from, you leave a voicemail, nobody calls you back.
Why not to cut you off, that's one of the biggest reasons why I had in the back of the book all the apps that you can access getting somebody of color. Because I do feel people on that. A lot of people, because of what I do, they have reached out to me because of my area that I work. They know I know people where I can kind of get them help. You know, it depends on where they at. And I'll say this: we do need a lot more people of color in this field. I understand there's sometimes a lot of politics in it. But I do feel like a lot of people of color that are within the field are now making themselves be known. I think back in the day it was an issue. Number one, because of the stigma, so they wouldn't get contacted anyway. So it's like, why even bother?
Right.
But I think now that it's so prevalent that they now know that people are searching for them, that they're not just going to start using their business. They're putting stuff on social media now. They're putting stuff on their Instagram. Besides their personal stuff, they're putting it out there like, hey, I'm a therapist. Hey, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. Hey, I'm an MFT, whatever, stuff like that. Because a lot of times people don't know what other people do,
Right.
you know, other than social media or Facebook, like, like, oh, I didn't know you did that, where can I find such and such? And I think by making themselves known, doing other outlets, people are getting the information out there. Now, one of the things I will say, you can request from your insurance company or provider a black,
Oh, I did.
um, yeah,
I
black
did.
doctor.
I went through 15 different
Sometimes
people
it's,
and
I
only
will, I will
like
say this.
6 of
Sometimes
them
it takes,
answered me. And
I
of
will
the
say this.
6, like, sorry, because there's a delay between when you talk and when I start. Go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but sometimes I will say this. I chose my therapist I have a holistic therapist,
Mm-hmm.
but I chose my therapist by referral. Um, my holistic doctor is white, but I guess she automatically knew, like, hey, I got a therapist for you, and she's black, and she already kind of like knew what I needed. I feel like people in the holistic world, it's kind of like no color lines, but they already know what you need. They know that you need who you need and what you need. It's not a guess, not a thought. Like, no, she's of color. I feel like you'd be great. You'll work with her. She knew that I needed that.
And how long had you been with the holistic provider before you
Um,
saw the mental health provider? I guess and would they be considered an internist? Are they still an internist or family practice, or like how? Or are they just considered
well,
holistic?
she's a doctor, but I think she just went into holistic medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So she has both.
Okay.
So I don't know about other people though. But
How did
I
you
had
find
already,
her?
I found her through my holistic doctor
Mm-hmm.
through a referral
Okay.
because I had the being allergic to almonds and having all these issues. I got tired of Western medicine and not having them not figure out the damn issue. Like, this shit don't make no sense, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't like taking those steroids. And
Got
so
you.
I had to find a better way. I'm looking like, this is not it. And so once I saw her, all those issues that I had went away. And then from there, that's when she got me the referral. And then everything was just bliss from there.
Oh, shout
But
out
I
to
will
her.
say but I will say this. I have seen a therapist through I have Kaiser. I have seen a therapist through Kaiser, but it took a minute for them to find me a black therapist within my area. And then I remember when I originally asked for a black therapist, they sent me an Indian lady. And I
Mm.
was like,
It's
and
not
I
the
felt
same.
bad when I went to her office because I was just like,
You're not black.
I was, my guard was immediately like,
Right. This is I made
because
a simple request.
not only that, the stuff that I was going through, I don't want to talk to you. You're not going, I need that person that's going to understand
Cultural
me.
cues. Right.
Social stuff like, no, you're not gonna understand what's going on at work because if I say something's racial intention, you're gonna be like, well, why did you see that?
Are you
Nah,
sure? Right. Yeah.
yeah, I'm
No,
gonna be
sis. I'm sure.
questioning me because if you're black, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
you know, with the code switch that we do in certain things
Mm-hmm.
at work,
That
only
you
people who
don't need a I
know,
don't see color kind of like no, sis. The color's here.
and
See it.
exactly. And for my therapist, when I told her about my grandmother and my family and certain dynamics, Black folks know family dynamics, especially when it comes to airing your dirty laundry out,
Mm-hmm.
or that's one of the main reasons why Black mental health is such a stigma because, oh, for key example, I remember when I first came out with my documentary and actually got
What's the
nominated
name of
for
the
an award.
documentary?
Let's Get Mental.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of the documentary is called Let's Get Mental by Awareness After Dark. Myself and the director and producer, and I have other people assisting me. And it's also a thing of interviews about Black awareness, Black mental health awareness in the community. And I got nominated for award in Cannes, France, my first time out. And I remember
Wow,
putting it.
congratulations. That's a
Thank
big
you.
deal.
I don't know why I just be like, yeah, I got, but
Subtle shade.
I was like, I guess because the video looks very like a little bit rinky-dink because of the lighting. I don't know what he was doing, but the lighting was kind of off.
Some
But
flex.
I was there with the heavy hitters. I remember my first time in Cannes, France, and just making a publicity. It wasn't even to make money. It was just like I honestly even think it would go that far.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember my sister complaining to me and getting pissed off. How dare you tear our family stuff, my mother's stuff? And I'm like, you're the problem.
Mm.
You're one of those people. You are the motherfucking problem. You're the reason why people want to keep all quiet, and you have one of the issues too. What are you talking
Mm-hmm.
about? These issues, when you talk about them and other people hear you talking about, you're letting other people out of their prison cell.
Mm.
You're opening the key and letting them like, hey,
And you're
come out and talk.
also opening yourself up to having other people reach out to you with help. That's one of the
Yeah,
things that I think could definitely be something beneficial to sharing your story. Is like you're helping other people, but you're also allowing other people to help you.
Exactly. Because talking about it, it would really, every time I talk about it, it gets easier. Before I can even talk about it without shutting it up, then it gets easier. It gets easier. Now I get to the point where I'm not even phased, with it. Okay, yeah, I went through that. Yeah, girl, I did this. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
was broke. Did it. Yeah, my mom went through the ringer. I don't. Yeah, it's a lot.
So why a book and not another documentary, or why a book with other people? Why not what do you call them, like the word, it's right here, it's right here, not a memorabilia, that when you write a book about yourself,
Therapist.
nope, when you write a book about
Uh,
yourself,
what is that?
thank you,
Memoir about.
god damn. Yes, why not a memoir? Like, why this way?
Because I need to, number one, although I do have a brilliant and great story, it wasn't about me.
Mm,
I wanted people to hear other people's stories, but through travel. And I felt like on social media is kind of like a family after a while. You distant
yeah.
cousins and distant sisters and aunties and stuff like that. And you kind of engage. You don't may not see each other every day because of the way the algorithm is, but every now and then you'll engage in some very dope, in-depth, heartfelt, and warming discussions
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook, Instagram, or even behind in the DMs and instant messenger, and based off of what some people were posting. And sometimes what I've also through the travel community, what I've learned was that, or was watching, how you just watching certain trends and stuff, certain people were just trying to get away from it all, or some of the things that were posted, they were really, really deep. And it's like, guys, this person sounds like they're really, really hurting. And I kind of felt like people were traveling, but they really didn't know. They kind of knew what they were traveling about, but they weren't really getting to the root of why they're traveling so frequently or often, or they really just, something for the gram, or traveling too often, or really, travel is kind of an escapism, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, we got to get back to reality. And reality could be that you are this travel person, but, you know, sometimes I don't feel like people are actually being honest with themselves,
Right. Absolutely.
Travel can be fun and awesome, but it also can be lonely and depressing itself too, depending on how often you do it, where exactly you're located. Are you isolated? Are you close to, are you around people of color?
Right. Right.
Everybody traveling is not traveling for a great experience. A lot of people are traveling because they're going to somebody's funeral. They're going to go home to take care of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They had to leave because of a job. All travel is not a good experience.
Right.
Due
That's
to
what I
certain,
love about this. There's so many different caveats to travel. It's not just vacation. Like, I think that if people were to step outside of the little box that they have surrounding the narrative of travel, that they can see that, one, you're more well traveled than you think you are, and two, there are a lot of different ways that it needs to be tackled and discussed.
Exactly. And I kind of felt like, honestly, everyone in the book mirrors or is a different corner of the travel world that somebody may not know. I kind of felt like I helped different aspects. Like, I don't think there's another podcaster in the book. Um, there's so many different people that are highlighting different things
Like, I
of
know you have
themselves.
Fletcher in there, my man
Yeah, well,
Fletcher.
actually, yeah, like Fletcher, he's wheelchair bound.
Mm-hmm. Rolling
Um,
on faith.
bro, yeah, half paralyzed, but that ain't stopping him.
Sure ain't.
And he's traveling all over the world. And because me and Fletcher, before he started really getting up there, he was trying to figure out how to get speaking engagements or more. We were active, so I said, "Hey, do you have this? Do you have that?" And he was like, "No." I said, "Do you belong to this group? Do you belong to?" I'm like, "No." I was like, "Here you go." Then all of a sudden, like several months later, I was like, "Damn."
Look at you taking off.
blown up. It's like, yeah. And he was like, oh, do you know such and such? I was like, yeah, I know them. Okay, I'm gonna put you in contact. Let me hit you up. Hey, I think it was Martinique. He wanted to meet Martinique. I was like, oh, I got you, because there's we're to get more diversity in the travel world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like in order to get more diversity in the travel world, we gotta start helping each other, promote each other in the travel world. Ain't
Absolutely.
nobody gonna buy us until we buy us,
Right.
you know? So she was with diversity, he's in a wheelchair, that's diversity. I ain't really see a lot of Black brothers in a wheelchair traveling.
Sure ain't. I don't see anybody in wheelchairs, period. But then
I mean,
also I
I
feel like part of it.
grandma,
Okay.
so I guess since my grandma's been in a wheelchair for like 10 years, I know of that world of,
Mm-hmm.
having a handicap and having less access and not being ADA compliant. So
Mm-hmm.
I felt
Mm-hmm.
him all the way. I understood him because I take care of my grandmother being in a wheelchair. And I understand when people just being rude to you, like, dude, do you not see this wheelchair?
Right.
So the,
Simple things. Yes, hold the door, or yes, I do need help. There's the ramp is a little janky. Like, thank you for
some people have manners and will still be, generous humans, and some people be like,
yeah, it's not my chair.
yeah. But then also I have another brother. His name is goes by Michael Agan. He's actually deaf. He's deaf and he travels.
Wow. You don't think about the little
Exactly.
things. You sure shit don't. It's one of those things where if it doesn't affect you, it's really easy to not consider it as something
Yeah.
that is actually a thing.
Right. And then hearing him, because although he's not only is he deaf, but he's African. He's from Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And so being deaf and being from a Ghana family, we know back families be like, ain't nothing wrong with you. You gonna learn it. And the way he was treated in his family, it's not funny, but it was just like they just treated him normal. And so that's how
Right.
he was able to like read
Navigate.
lips, navigate through the system
Mm-hmm.
without being put in a special school and stuff like that. Like,
Wow.
you're all right.
Really?
Yeah, eventually he learned sign language at a later stage in
Mm-hmm.
life. So for him to navigate that and still was just like, oh, you're all right, you're gonna eat dinner with the rest of us, ain't nothing wrong with you. You here. Like,
Right.
he didn't. But
Mm.
she shows in his book how he navigated through that, and was an inspiration to other people. You can still do other things and have a regular jobs, still interact with people, just not letting other things although it may be depressing at times, but showing you how you can get through certain things and how that affected him mentally.
Of course. Of course. So when you're traveling, how do you personally I guess it's another two-part question. So the way you had mentioned that people are traveling and they sometimes don't realize that they're traveling to kind of like escape, their regular lives. How do you, I don't know if it's maybe because I'm answering the question for you. I hate when I do this. You know who pointed that out to me? Fletcher did that. He was like, so I'm right here. You could just, like you're talking it through, trying to answer it when you could just ask
Right,
it.
you're trying to
So,
figure out your head. So I
so
get it, I understand.
when you travel, how do you make sure that you are aware of what it is you are stressing over while you're at home? And then making sure that, because I know for me personally, I tend to carry a lot on myself. And then I either have the option of making sure that I unpack it with a fresh set of eyes when I'm traveling, or I totally like escape from it. So, how do you, I guess, tackle the issues that you face at home while you're traveling? Like, do you take them head on, or do you tend to kind of just take a break, remove yourself from the issue, and then revisit it when you get back home?
Well, for me, it's a little bit different because not only a travel influencer, or do my own solo travel, I'm also I have my own company called Work and Play where I specialize in volunteer travel. So I do group trips as well. So with that said, when it comes to my group trips, it's a little bit different because how should I say? I'm working, but in between my work, I make sure there's some downtime so that I can enjoy myself. Like I tell people, I'm actually an introvert, extrovert. So after a while, I'm gonna get tired of y'all too, and you're gonna get tired of me. And I give people that time to do their own thing. and relax, flex, do what you got to do, enjoy your own time. Of course, we have that group time, so we get to know each other, have a good time, and enjoy each other's company and explore the world together. But at the same time, everybody has another different type of agenda, and
Right.
I want them to have their own personal experience with that country without anybody else, so that they can have that downtime to navigate why exactly are they here, what exactly are they trying to enjoy or get rid of or encompass and take back with them.
Gotcha.
So I always tell people my last group trip, it was kind of like a retreat. It was like, yeah, it was kind of like that was my first kind of like retreat that I did with, and it was just ladies. We had a special, I guess, women's circle. It was, we had the sage burning, we had, mandala, we had it all going on, and had assistant with that. And I think there, I didn't really realize, I knew what sometimes I think I don't know. Not that I've had a blind eye to it, but I know that it's needed, but you really don't realize it's needed until you get down in that circle and women start actually talking and shedding tears, go like, oh shit, this is heavy. I just thought we were
Right.
just gonna tie. But it was needed. I was so happy that I answered the call and um just gave them what they needed at that time. Because I
Mm-hmm.
saw it, I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to do something different. I feel like I want to do something different. And I told my friends, like, yeah, I want to do something different. I feel like they needed it, and just talking to them, having personal conversations. And they loved it. I kind of felt like they just left whatever that no longer served them, because, it is super moon today. I'm going to have my sound bath today later.
Word. That bitch was beautiful on the way out here. I gotta make sure I, get home. And I meant
On
to
the West
text my
Coast,
mama and tell her to look at it before but she'll be up in like 2 hours. I don't know. My mother wake up
yeah,
wild early in the morning.
in like another 40 minutes, I'm about to go to my super moon, my sound bath, and meditate,
Mm-hmm.
get my intentions on. But no, they really needed it, and nobody knew each other, but certain people had the same issues or different issues
Mm.
that were alive, and everybody could just relate and just let it out on the table. I feel like with my group trips, those conversations I have, but
Mm-hmm.
my solo trips are for me. And I think for me, being in this field, I am kind of very self-aware. So I come to a certain country. Number one, I'm very cautious of, very not cautious, but I'm very mindful of what I put in my carry-on. So I
Mm.
got my sage, um,
Same.
my sage, my singing bowl, my Palo Santo, my Florida water, my candles. So I ain't just going on a trip just be going on a trip. I'm going to like woosah and
You're
take some of that
intentional
away. And
about making sure that you,
yeah, I'm very,
address those
yeah,
things.
yes. And when I come back, it's like every time I go to a different country and I come back, I realize something around my house or my environment that no longer serves me anymore. If I'm feeling a
Wow.
certain way when I come back, honestly, every trip that I go on and I come back, I start getting rid of more and more things. My life becomes more simpler. I no longer watch TV, honestly, at all. I just get a laptop, but my flat screen TV just watches me kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I took my other TV out of my bedroom. I didn't no longer wanted the TV in my bedroom, and I just come more simplify my life. The more simple it became, the more better I started feeling.
Mm.
And whatever, because when you go to different countries, they make you realize certain things about yourself and about your surroundings. For example, this one thing I noticed about Bali, Costa Rica, and South Africa, actually Cape Town to be exact. Um, when it's time for dinner or lunch or an outing, or like even like just like their lunches, nigga, they lunch.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? No, we're eating dinner. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not, I feel like, and I noticed that when I came back from South Africa this last time, that I was, when I first came home, I was relaxed and enjoying stuff, taking my time. Then all of a sudden I just started rushing. Everything was like eating on the go, drinking on the go, like everything. And then my boyfriend was kind of, he's like, why are you, he hates it when I eat in the car.
Okay.
But as Americans out here, we are used to the drive-through. We're used to just, okay, I gotta go.
That comes
We're
secondary. It's everything else comes first, and then like that, let's eat, or
yeah,
all right, I'll sleep in a minute. Let me just finish this. Let me do this.
and I hated that. When I came back, I was like, this shit gotta go. That shit is not cute. That's
Mhm.
no, I want to go back to my. And it's not saying that you got you'll still have certain things in order, but it's the way it is. Like honestly, I do my prayer meditations in the morning. I do not like to be rushed through that shit.
Mhm.
Like I
Mhm.
like ever since me being off work or being on stress leave or whatever, because maybe that is important to me. Like I don't care how late, whatever. At least get my 10-15 minutes of that, and I'm good. And that's what they do out there. I had another friend. I was just like, oh, how can you? I remember being out there with her, and I was kind of relaxed. But being out here, I was just like, she's like, yeah, I don't
The
know what
energy
it
is a
is.
little
It's
different.
yeah, and it's like you try to get away from it, but it's just like the energy kind of push you back in it, and I don't like it. So I try different things. Like, okay, I try to really make time and space for that. Like I no longer rush phone calls. I get to it when I get to it. Certain time of the day, I stop taking phone calls. I start answering emails. I start doing things on Sundays anymore. I
Mhm.
used to be, oh, I gotta get back to this person. No, it's okay.
It'll be
It,
there.
yeah, you kind of like, cause I feel like that. I don't know if that's a whole U.S. thing or a California thing, but I noticed that as soon as I got back from South Africa, like, yo, I do not like that feeling, like that whole rush. No, let's enjoy. I didn't like it.
I know one of the things that you have in your book is, and I love this quote: "Black don't crack on the outside, but on the inside it hurts like hell." That was like one of the things that every time I see it in the book, like every time I come across it, I always stop and read it thoroughly, like in full. And it is like, it absolutely is. It's one of those things where it's you. What's the word? Archetype, or it's one of those stereotypes, if you will, that especially Black women, or even no, it's for both Black men and women. It's just like we're just so strong, and then Black women, of
Yeah, we
course,
look
just
damn good for our ages.
right. You ain't
We
never
we
gonna
got
know how old niggas is until they start to really wear that. Because I remember I used to bartend at a strip club, right? And I would randomly talk to like one of the new girls, and so we chatting it up or whatever, blah blah blah, and then somehow we'd get to the age thing, and so then I would say my age, and then or they would say their age, and some of them it'd be like, damn, all right, so you wearing your life. Like some people, like you can see that the stress that they've been through in their lives. Some people it shows on their face, but then other people it's just like, oh, so you're not 50, you're actually like 70 or something like that. You know what I mean? Some people, it's for some people it works.
yes.
For
I
other
met
people,
a couple of ladies. They were like, "Oh, child, I am 55. I could be your mom. I'm 60." I'm like, "Well, damn.
right.
Let me get like no, I feel it. But at the same time, we're dying inside,
Mm-hmm.
and I went through that too. I remember being off of work because of this. Some of the stuff was at work was killing me. It really was, and people thought, I look good, I'm smiling, whatever, but inside I was dying. And I would tell anybody to, definitely get help, talk to somebody. If you need to take the time off, do it, because let me tell you, the motherfuckers that work will replace you in a heartbeat.
Sure will.
It is definitely
Sure the
it
fuck
is definitely
absolutely will.
take your time off. Stop doing this whole. I don't know it sounds cliche. The old like no days off, bitch. Please.
Sleep. We fall asleep for a reason.
But no, you get honestly, I understand like some now, don't get me wrong. When doing part of this book, when you get your energy juices flowing, you got
Ride the
that
wave.
juice, that spirit, yeah, go ahead and knock it out. And I'm not saying don't quit and everything, but when it's time to get that rest. Because it's
You
just
can make
not worth it.
Yeah, you also make better decisions. Just I mean, it's science.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
I think now don't get me wrong, my creative juices start flowing around 2 o'clock in the morning. That's just me. However, after that, once it wears off, then it's like, okay, now I can sleep, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But you get better rest when you get some of those hours. I know some people can live a certain time, but when you get that good sleep, deep sleep, just that spiritual rest, that
Mm-hmm.
spiritual type of rest where your worry is not there. A lot of people I know do not sleep without worry. And I think that's the sleep that I'm talking about. Like sleep without worry. Do some affirmations before you go to sleep. Do some type of spiritual thing that you need to do, cleansing or whatever you want to say, whatever you need to do, whatever it is that's going to keep you at peace, that's going to help you sleep better. A lot of people, I don't think it's not the resting that takes place, it's the good resting, the clear resting, the clean mind, body, and spirit resting.
Yeah, it's not just because that's the difference between rest and sleep. Because you could fall asleep on the train, you could fall asleep on the bus, you can fall asleep behind the wheel, but it's not the same as rest. Like that is, it's funny that you actually make that distinction because that's, yeah, I think that that's one of those things, especially as creatives. A lot of people have another stigma is that, you know, sleep when you're dead or grind just because you're not doing something or because this isn't happening and that's not happening. You're not making progress or you can't, you know, take a step back because you haven't like accomplished your goal. And I feel like so much more can be benefited from rest, not necessarily just sleep,
Exactly. That's
but rest.
wrong. I felt through that trap going through the book. I had a very up and this book was a very up and down emotional roller coaster because while I was writing this book, I kind of felt ill myself. I took some time off work, and then I had to take care of my grandmother who is now in the hospice. And so
I'm sorry to
at a
hear that.
certain point, it was just like, okay, the book is going to be on hold for a second. I got to take care of this. I need to take care of myself before I try to assist taking care of others. You know what I'm saying? So, but then in the back of my mind, I'm looking like, oh, but I got to put this book out. I already put this deadline. People are expecting the book. People already did their pre-orders. They're expecting the book at this time. Okay, but it ain't going to get finished if my mind's not right. It
Right.
ain't going to not going to come out right if I'm not well rested to actually function and do this part and do that part. So I'm not getting mad at myself or depressed that certain things didn't come out the way that I wanted or whatever the case may be. Like the first, like for example, when I first thought I was done, um, the editing issues, the formatting issues, I really have wanted the color book to be affordable for people to get because I just wanted it color. But unfortunately, I had too many people in the book, but it was a good thing, but too many pages.
Mm.
So I'm not a first time author, but I am a first time publisher. The first book I was in, it was actually um, co-created. So I didn't have all to have to do everything.
Right.
But when you're doing everything and you see all the ins and outs, it's like, oh my God, it's so many technical pieces to doing a book, especially when you're self-publishing or when there's depending what type of book that you're trying to put out there. Like I said, mine has 53 people in it, had whole lots of deadlines and whole bunch of formats that came with it. And it was just like, okay, give yourself some credit. You got 50, not 50, but 53 people of color within the travel in and out of the travel community together to talk about a topic that is pretty much a stigma. Not
Mm-hmm.
really. I mean, people is out there now. Mental health is like the new sexy word, but
Right.
I still feel like still not. It's a sexy word, but we're still not really addressing it how it needs to be addressed when it comes to people of color. I'll put it that way. It's just a sexy word now because people are actually getting grant monies, which I still haven't got yet.
Yet.
yet,
Yet.
yet, yet. Because at first there was no money out there really for mental health issues or mental health awareness on this type of level, like the ground roots level. They're doing other stuff, but the way that I'm doing it, kind of like an edutainment type of way,
Mm-hmm.
there was no grants money before. And then all of a sudden, like back in the day, nobody was kind of like doing any mental health events or issues the way I was doing it for people of color, especially like for the millennial and Generation X. And then all of a sudden, everybody want to be on mental health. When you start being about mental health,
You know what I
your
think the
category.
difference is also is that it's one of those things where it's fun and safe to talk about online, but like, are people actively talking about it in their homes? Are they talking about it in their friend
Right.
groups? It's easy to talk about with someone that's already brought it up on their social media page. Like, it's easy to comment on a post that somebody is, you know, opening up on and saying, hey, I've had this struggle, or I encountered X, Y, and Z happened with this family member. But it's a different type of conversation when you talk to your parents about issues that you're having, or issues that you see that they may be having, or when you sit with cousins, or, you know, aunts, uncles, grandparents, between generations, between locales, like whether or not you have family down south, family in another country, or wherever they may be. It's a different conversation when you're having these talks with people that think that they know you, or because I think that that's even another not stigma, but misconception sometimes, where just because you've known someone like your whole life, like people have this false idea that they actually know you. It was like, well, you know me, but you don't know about me. Like, we've never
Yes,
had any
that's the
really.
whole thing with social media. Sometimes you know of people, but you really don't know what they're going through. Your most happiest. I think one of the shirts that I was putting out was like, yeah, this is what mental health looks like, or this is what depression looks like. This is what
Mm,
anxiety looks like. Um, it has so many faces and colors and stuff to it. It doesn't come just in
right.
one shape and size. And I think people can get that confused. So a lot of times, I think one of the hashtags is that somebody else had it out there, like, "Are you good, sis?" Because a lot of times we have this
Mm-hmm.
thing where we just go, and even I do it all the time, like, okay, yeah, I'm fine. But people who know me,
No,
like,
you're
oh,
not.
you're not fine.
Right.
Yeah, like we say we're fine, like, you good? Yeah, you're fine. But you're not fine.
Right. I always
That's
tell people at my job, like, when they say, you know, I'd be like, oh, good morning. How are you? Or good afternoon. Like, how you feeling? You good? And be like, oh, I'm peachy. And I always, yeah, that's my go-to when I'm not going to tell you how I'm feeling. Or, yeah, I say I'm peachy when I'm lying to you. It's just like, yep, I'm peachy. And that's like when somebody sees, like, you're, you know, arguing with a customer, or somebody sees something happen that they know you're upset about, and they be like, oh, no, you good? I'm like, yeah, fucking peachy. It's like, that's my
yeah,
code for, no, I'm not.
even when we're not, or we want to say something about it, we're so programmed to say I'm fine when we're not.
So how do you suggest people get through that? Because I know that a lot of that is ego. That's one thing that and this is, I guess, me asking for advice for myself, because I have that issue where I hate asking for help. Like, I'd rather just figure it out myself. Like, I just like, all right, well, I did everything else. Or it's just like, what can you, then sometimes in my mind, I'm just like, what could you possibly say that's going to make me feel better right now? I can't envision anything that you're going to say to me right now is going to make me feel better. So I'm not even going to tell you that anything's wrong, because I'm already like to say the way I was telling you that I'll answer your question in my mind as I'm
Right,
asking you the question,
right,
is like I tend to do that same thing where I'll say, well, you're not going to say anything to make me feel better, so why am I going to bother? You know what I mean? Like, I tell the entire story in like the 0.7 seconds that you've asked me, hey, are you good? And so then I'm just like,
mhm.
yep, fine, everything's good. So how would you suggest somebody get out of their own head and maybe start to take a step, or um I guess move in the direction of trying to actually be okay, and not just saying they're okay when they're not okay?
That's difficult, a difficult but non-difficult question. I would just say stop lying to yourself.
Mm,
You gotta stop lying to. You just gotta stop lying to yourself. I understand in certain environments you may not be able to share, and that's natural. You
mhm.
can't share everything with everybody,
Right.
and I just feel like you gotta use your spirit of discernment to do that. So I definitely understand with certain people you are gonna have to lie and say yes, because some people just like to gossip and be in your business.
Absolutely.
They're
Ain't none of your damn business.
They don't have the great intentions, but I feel like when you know you have the spirit of discernment on you and you pray about it, or when you feel somebody's spirit or their vibe, you can tell when that person, when you have that connection. I can't really describe it or say like, oh, you need to look for A, B, C, D, F, G. But when people were trifling, you know that if that bitch telling everybody else's business, she gonna tell
Mm-hmm.
yours.
Sure.
Like,
Sure enough. You
like,
know the
come on now.
coworker.
Like,
You
yeah.
know the cousin, and you know the coworker.
But if there's somebody outside of work you can talk to, or there may be that one coworker that you know that is going to be neutral and not say anything, but use your, your spiritual guide to find somebody to talk to. And maybe I'll put it this way. Sometimes God or the spirits or the universe will lead, maybe that person is not the correct person to talk to, but they're going to lead you to somebody to talk to. So sometimes you got to say something to somebody. It's okay if they don't have the correct words. They may not know how to make you feel better, because some people don't have the spirit of empathy. They mean well, but they may not know how to. It's all new to me. They're not trying to say call you crazy, but they don't. They just don't know.
Right.
They don't know how to address it. They're probably used to seeing you all funny sometimes. Um, Sometimes they just can't relate.
Yeah, they don't have
But
the
can they
language.
find? They don't have the language, but that makes them not a good friend. No, you just can't talk to them about certain things. But can they probably find you somebody? Yeah, they probably can. I've had a friend tell me like they were just not an empathetic person. Like no matter what it was, she just was not a huggy feely type of person. But did that mean that she loved you any less? No, she just ain't a huggy feely
Right.
crying my person. But hey, are you okay? You good? Okay. So you want to do this? Okay, good. But she meant well. But if I needed a cry out fest, I'm not gonna call her. But will she try to something make me feel better or lead me to a different person? Like, hey, why don't you do such and such? Sometimes other people just don't know how to deal with it because they have their own issues that they haven't addressed or whatever the case may be. They didn't come from a touchy family,
Right.
huggy, let's talk about it family. So they definitely not the show don't know how to deal with you. Okay.
Right.
But they
That
didn't
ain't
come
their
in that
ministry.
is talking about they shit and your personal issues. Is like they lost for words. And sometimes, that doesn't mean they're not a good friend. That's just not, they're not capable of doing that or being what you need at this moment, maybe at a later time. But maybe they have other things, quirky ways. I think, what's it called? The languages, the 5 love
Yeah.
language.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just have other love languages that to say like, I love you and I'm trying. I can't do that, but I can do this for you.
Right.
Find those people that speak your love language in this arena that can reach out to you. There's still no reason for you to be suffering in silence just because this person doesn't directly speak your love language in handling your mental health issue or something that you need to get off your chest. They may lead you to another person just because this person, like key example, I need to find another place for my grandmother who was on hospice. This one place was fucking trash.
Mm-hmm.
However, I went to this person, that person. That person couldn't help me because my grandmother needed a 2-person assist. However, she said, hold on, I got somebody for you. Let me call this person. Okay, let me call this person. And let's see, can they take your price or whatever? With no hard feelings, she couldn't help me, but she knew
Right.
how, know where to get help, and there's nothing
Right.
wrong with it. I think sometimes we want to just cut people off because they couldn't provide the assistance sometimes. No, that just wasn't, maybe their calling was to just be used as a vessel to get you to that next connection.
That's a good point. Thank you for that. So,
Mm-hmm.
where can people find information about you, about your book, about your group trips? So, you facilitate all the trips, like you plan everything and do all the
Yes,
flights
I do.
and.
So I specialize in, everybody has their specialty. My organization is called Work and Play Co. That's you can find the website as www.workandplayco.com. However, I'm not doing any group trips this year
Mm-hmm.
because of my book and my other family issues that I got going on, which I'm kind of glad, especially with everything that's going on in the travel industry. Hey, I'm still in the travel
Right.
world. My book, I ain't doing no trips. I'm doing a lot of solo stuff this year because
Mm-hmm.
I need this time for myself and
Right. You got a lot.
I don't need to, I cannot give that kind of energy away around this time. But in this, and I think my book is actually perfect timing. I was actually going to have to pull away from doing the group trips for a minute because of this year is supposed to be for my book anyway. And so it's just like, okay, you can't be doing all this. You gotta pick a lane this year.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I decided to focus on the book, focus on speaking engagements, this, other venues, going to HBCUs, doing trips, and I'm a PR person and helping me in that arena. Of course, get book sales, get those reviews. Y'all leave me a review.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting other people to speak about it on another global impact in the travel industry. Because honestly, not honestly, but speaking of the travel industry and diversity, there are not a lot of travel authors, book authors. We have a
Right.
lot of bloggers, a lot of podcasts. I don't say a lot, but enough,
Mm-hmm.
like a good handful, or even more than enough than a handful, far as that is concerned in the travel industry. But we do not have a lot of travel book authors. We don't,
Right.
especially not the ones that are actually hitting the top notch, that are the same level with our white brothers and sisters. We don't. And I kind of feel like with that, we need to start supporting each other a little bit more so that we can be on that same level and playing field.
So besides, so you're not doing work and play code, but what was Awareness After Dark?
Yeah,
Is that
awareness
what
of
it's
the
called?
dark read. I do have paraphernalia for sale, like mental health paraphernalia for sale on it's inside the book. I can't even think of the website right now. It's called awareness of the dark apparel.com. We
Mm-hmm.
have mental health shirts, backpacks and stuff like that. Cups, shirts, t-shirts, tank tops, and different awareness paraphernalia. Um, we're going to try and be at Audacity Fest this year with the book and our mental health awareness paraphernalia.
Okay, so I'll definitely, of course, have all those links in the episode descriptions. You guys can also go to travelandshippodcast.com and go to the episode page for all the links to Jen, and of course
Oh,
the
the
link.
main
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, and the main one, it'll be up by the end of the week. It's called Keep Calm, Bring Your Carry On. So you just follow the words, the hashtags, Keep Calm, Bring Your Carry On. It's on Facebook, Instagram, and the website. The website will be up at the end of the week.
Okay, and so what's your social media? How can people find you if they wanted to
My
reach out to
social
have
media,
you speak on something, or for advice, whatever?
go to they can go to Keep Calm, Bring Your Carry On all this. As soon as you do that, all my face and everything will pop up. Or you can contact me on awarenessafterdark@gmail.com, or work and play. Let's work and play. Keep Calm, Bring Your Carry On@gmail.com. And so I'm all on the Instagram and the social medias by that, or work and play. You can find me on both. I go by Jen or Jen for short.
All right. Jen, thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you for sharing your story with me. And
Thank you, and thank you for being actually a part of my book. You forgot to say that you're actually chapter 6. They'll be up tomorrow.
yeah, I actually had quite a mini
Your
discussion
photos
last
came
week.
out pretty good. You actually got a pretty you are one of the contributors or the interviewees. I would say interviewees that actually had a long chapter. I actually had to cut some of yours out. Your picture, your chapter, if you look at it in color, it is really bomb. I was like, oh, I
Oh,
got
shout out to Nana's Fur. She took
to.
the photo. She is so bomb. I'm hoping that she
Who
comes to New
did
York
that?
too. Nana's Fur. Her name is Nanis, and her last name is Fur. She is on the Instagrams. If you will be in Cartagena,
Was that for
she
outfit
is.
or the?
Huh? Oh yeah, that was my outfit. Like I was coming from the beach, bruh. I was
Oh,
funky. I was funky. I was hot. I was sweaty. I just
was that
spent
her
like
hair or was it for shade?
no, those are mine. I bought those that morning. Everything on me is mine. The sweat, the glow, the glimmer, the
Yeah, I was like,
sass, the shabazz.
like, I was
I
like,
was
okay,
just
this shit is.
walking in the thank
It
you. I
looks a
was
lot. The black and white looks good, but the color looks. If you see it in color, it looks amazing.
yeah, that's why I was like, when I saw the picture, I'm like, fuck, I gotta buy another one. I gotta buy the one in color. That's me.
Yeah, the color looks amazing. You can see the color actually on the ebook. It looks the pictures like really dope in the ebook and in color. That's why I really wanted a color one, but Amazon wasn't trying to let me be great. So
But we can order color ones on Amazon still, right?
Yeah, you can, but it's a heavier cost.
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get
Thank
it
you. Support.
because
Thank you
I
so
want to
much.
have me like a nice little coffee table book. So I'll give this one to like my mom or like my grandma. I'm like, oh, well, I'll raffle
Yeah.
it off.
And the artwork on the cover, so the artwork, the design,
Mm-hmm.
I worked with the same person who did my mental health shirts. The concept of the design is by me myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the illustrator is John Barch III. I call him my brother. I gave him hell about my artwork because I needed the woman to look fly. It
Right.
was very important for me to have the woman. I guess when I first started, the person had the woman looking too strong in the face. It was and she had an
Wasn't how you
attitude.
felt it.
Yeah, I was like, why black women always gotta have an attitude like stank face? Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want that. I'm supposed to be in her zen, like, that's what I wanted. So I think it's dope. I think the title, I think the cover, the illustration, and title are very on point.
Yeah.
Like
And
they
then
hit it
even
very.
the one you have inside, I
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
seeing
I
this
love
one
the
too.
inside.
The
I
collage of
don't,
everybody's picture.
so people don't really understand the things that I had to do this, because sometimes people don't see your vision. And then when you kind of work with them, like John, he was cool getting the illustration, but then the collage, what I wanted, I mean, she did a really good job in the collage. Because first I was just like, no, that ain't it. I want bam, bam, bam. I want to have everybody around me, and then I just pop.
Right.
It's like you, if you read in the book, like, I'm the captain. These are my flight attendants. We got to take you on a, fantastic journey.
Boom. And there you have it. So
And then I
guys,
like how
go ahead.
everyone, I
Say
said
it
I like
again.
it because it just everyone from everywhere, different aspects of life, but everybody's of color, all Hispanic, um, different types of African and Black people, and I just when I look at it, I was like, wow, we are really doing a damn thing out here in this travel world.
We here. We here. It's
We
just, we sometimes
This
we
is
just
the real
shine a
Black
light
travel
on them.
movement.
Shine a light on them. And all right, y'all. So Jen, thank you again for being my lovely guest today. And thank you again for having me be a part of the book. Like, I'm so excited to be included in this, and I can't wait to see how well it does. So guys, make sure that you order your copy on the Amazons, leave reviews.
I'm trying to be the number one bestseller.
Let's get her up there, y'all. Let's get her up there. And niggas and friends, thank you for joining us, and see y'all motherfuckers next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.